can answer your questions and, just let me know. So we are going to try to do these every Wednesday after our videos. Usually we'll go ahead and be at home, but we're almost there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. This particular video was about teaching a pickup command so that when you drop something, you can get your dog to pick it up and hand it back to you. There will be phases in this video, so it'll probably take about a 4-week period in order to teach the full pickup. And this is really for dogs that won't naturally pick up items, and that's some dogs, retrievers and stuff, they naturally want to do that, but they're doing road construction and that has stuck us on the road. So who's here? Kim? Are you the only one here?
Just me.
It's just us. So what we're going to be trying to do, we'll see if people want to participate. Normally our videos go out at 9 a.m. and we will go live at 10 a.m. and then we can answer any of your questions. So make sure you share these videos and get your friends to join us and all that kind of stuff. So, hey Alicia, you made it. Super cool. We're still driving home. We got stuck behind construction traffic. So I may lose you for just a minute. Hold on, I gotta pay attention because I need to turn. Chuck, you made it. Trying to get home.
We got Laura here as well.
Hey Laura.
Sorry guys, we got stuck behind construction.
We thought we could get home before noon, but we got stuck in traffic. You know how whenever you're not in a hurry, you'd have no traffic. Now we have traffic. Chuck, how's your pug doing?
Sill's here.
Hey, Sill, you made it. So one of the things that she does not retrieve either. She does like to tug. So I know that she'll put something in my ear once. They must be having an ice storm. So we had a lot of rain this morning, which took us completely off of track. Ooh, it's warm in the truck. Ooh. All right. That should be easier to watch. Other than this thing is getting loose. Peekaboo, I see you. That was crazy.
Oh, I don't have keys.
So, get the keys. Woo. Okay, who has questions about dog training? So people can watch this when they're trying to train their dog. So I do think that this is something that we are going to continue doing. And I am going to check with our local, thanks, Laura. Check with the local no-kill shelter and see if they wouldn't mind me training some of their dogs. I volunteered for that where I used to live. So, whoop. So, it's like crazy, isn't it? All kinds of crazy stuff. It's still hot in here. I keep it for a minute. It's better. So, clicker training. I really like clicker training. Hi Heather. The one thing that I don't like about clicker training is for those of us that have children or grandchildren that live in the house, is kids love picking that thing up and clicking it. And actually, I don't even want to just say kids. I've had full-grown adults come to my house, pick it up, and just start clicking it because it's a clicker thing. It's like fun, the noise, whatever. I don't know. But what happens is, so what you're doing with the clicker is you're marking a dog's behavior. You're marking the behavior that you want to reward. So when you see a dog doing something and you click, they learn, let me repeat that behavior over and over again, and then I will get rewarded. So you don't have to be as fast with your treat, because you're quick with your click. So when someone's just playing with it and clicking it, you're confusing the heck out of the dog, because the dog's like, wait, what am I doing? I need to repeat this behavior. I'm not getting rewarded. So that is why I started going to just the word. So just saying yes. And you can use whatever words you want. You just need to use the same word. And even when you cannot hear us, can't hear me. Is it because of the truck? Is that better? Can you hear me now? Huh. So you don't want to leave the clicker around when on strike with the clicker noises. And that happens because, was it because it was getting clicked too often with someone picking it up and clicking it, or they just decided they didn't want to? So I've had dogs in for training that they have to be retrained. So they've either heard the clicker, it's that particular situation has happened, and the dog has completely stopped wanting to listen to it or acknowledging it or whatever. And I have found the easiest thing to do at that point is to switch to a word. It gives you complete control. Someone else can take that over. So say Kim wanted to work with the dog, she could take it and just say yes. And the big thing is the timing on your click or your word. It has to be the behavior you're marking. So you want to, and if you mess up, so there's a couple times in the video where she didn't actually touch the object, and I said yes. You notice I just skipped over it and I kept going. I didn't create a confusion in the dog. It was just keep going. The less you move, the better. So I heard that you say, watch me, I saw that. Mm-hmm. That's not marking a behavior. That's teaching your dog to look at you. And I don't actually want the dog to look at me. I want the dog to touch the object in this particular case. If you're teaching a watch me, then that works. And that's your actually command, not marking this. So, because what you're wanting to do is, and you're marking the behavior that you want the dog to do. So if your command is watch me and you're wanting them to look at you, then you say watch me, and when they look at you is when you click and reward. So that would be for that particular command.
Any other questions, guys? Just here to help you.
I'm here to help. Free advice.
Free advice.
People used to pay me a lot of money for this.
Yeah. Any dog questions? Dog training questions.
So another big thing that I see is your treat, your reward. You want it to be soft, and you want it to be very tiny. You don't want the dog to get full. So they should come to your training session hungry, and you don't want them to get full while you're training them, because then you always want to lead okay, so in this particular video teaching this pickup, Chloe was like on it. She hit it like 5 or 6 times. She'd figured it out. Oh, I touched this. Mom says, yes, I get a treat. And it's so neat whenever you watch it actually turn on. And so she was like, bam, 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 bam. And then I did what's called jackpotting. So I pulled her away from it, and I just, oh, you're such a good girl. And I was giving her lots of treats and finishing out my 1 stick. That training session was a half a stick of cheese. That's how much cheese she got during that training session. So you don't want to use a ton of food. You don't want them to get hungry, and you want to end on your best note. So I usually try to go 4 or 5 in a row. If they cue on it 4 or 5 times in a row, I'm done. I've had training sessions where I've walked out there and they've been like bam, 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 bam. And if they do that 3 times in a row, then we go to something harder. So we add the next time.
What's the max time that you want to work with your dog? Let's say your dog doesn't get it like Chloe did. How do you decide the cutoff as far as training for that day?
If your dog just completely starts ignoring you and you can pick up the thing and drop it 3 or 4 times and they're just full on ignoring you, stop, put them in a crate, put them in somewhere where you want your training to be more fun than anything else. So the worst thing you could do would be to stop, put them in the backyard with the other dogs, let them play, get them out, play with toys, do whatever. Your training session has to be the most fun thing that's going on. So I know for Chloe, she actually doesn't like being put in the yard. She wants to be right with me. So putting her in the yard would be like, oh, wah, wah. So that's kind of what you want. You don't want to give them cookies. You don't want to give them a chew bone. You don't want to give them any of that stuff. You just maybe put them in the crate for 15 or 20 minutes, pull them out, and start again. This one thing that we did, I actually kind of set Chloe up to fail in this situation. We had rabbits get loose, and so we had rabbits running around, and then you notice the cat walked up. So that was a lot of distraction for teaching something new to a dog. You actually want the least amount of distractions available when you first start something to this point, so that the only thing that's around is like the case that I'm wanting her to touch, the thing I'm wanting her to look at. So
how to get my new dog to stop following me and train her to spend more time with grandma?
Put her on leash, tie the leash around grandma's foot or arm or chair or something like that, and have grandma hand feed her. That's how you want to do that, because you're probably the one that feeds her, so she's like, I'm going with the person who has the snacks. That's how you do that. It's called tethering. And when I have a dog come in for training, they are tethered to me for the entire first week that they're there. They only get food from my hand. They do not get food from a bowl. They do not get food from me. They have to work for their food, and it comes from me, and they're tethered to me. And that's also how I house train and house break them. So if I cannot watch them, if I cannot have them tethered to me, they go in their crate. They either go in their crate, or they go in, some people don't crate and they go in their room, somewhere away that they're not going to get into things that I can't kind of control the environment of them, because I want them to be successful, and that's setting them up to be successful instead of setting them up to fail.
Is it under members only? Because I'm getting a message.
No, it was public.
Only some people can't message.
No, it was a public one. That's weird. Are only members on here? I thought Chuck was on here. Chuck's not a member. Yeah. Alicia's on here. She's not a member.
Okay. Gloria's on
That's
here.
Weird. I wonder why some people can't. It's very strange.
Must be their phone.
So like what I'll do today is, throughout the day, I will pull Chloe out and just work with her until she gives me 3 to 5 repetitive behaviors that I want. So when she touches that 3 to 5 times, we're done. So that could take 2 seconds. That can take 5 minutes. It could take 10 minutes. I'm not going to really try to go over 10 minutes. If she's not doing it and I can't get her to do it, before I'll stop, what I'll do is I'll take my cheese, I'll take the object, and I'll rub my cheese on the object, because she's very food motivated. So I'll rub my cheese on the object, so she's like, oh wow, that smells like cheese, and she'll touch it, yes, and so I'm setting her up to fail. I mean to succeed. I'm doing whatever it takes to get her to look at that. What you don't want to do, what I see people do, so here's what I see people do, is they themselves become the distraction, and they get in the way of the dog actually doing the behavior. So if you noticed in today's video, I literally just stood there. The only time that was when she got super distracted by the rabbit or the cat, and I picked the object up and re-dropped it in front of her. is pretty much the only time that I did anything. I didn't grab her leash. I didn't, kiss, 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 look, look, look. I didn't do any of that. I stood there and I waited for her to show me the behavior that I wanted to pick. Some dogs, that's going to take a little bit longer, which, making that object smell, their sense of smell is going to usually get them every time. So I have in the past had to take a little bit of cat food and just touched my finger on it, or sardine. Chloe hates sardines, so I don't do sardines with her, but sardines, like a little bit of the oil, and put that on there so that they're like, ooh, and they go to sniff it. Then you can reward them. So if you have to do that, but don't do that straight out the gate. You don't want to, you want them to work for it. You want them to figure it out. And once their little brain figures it, how she was like sniffing the ground going, oh, you want my head down. So I'm putting my head down, because every time my head's down, I get a yes. So she was trying that. That didn't work. She laid down. She looked at me. That didn't work, because that's the last thing we worked on was her lie downs. So they'll start throwing their behaviors at you, like, well, do you want this, or do you want this, or do you want that? You want them to go through that process of working through that. And then when they get the right thing, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I touched this, I get my treat. I get my click, I get my treat. So you want to let their brain work it out. And if you get in the way of that by over trying to make it easy for them, you're going to get to a point and the dog's not going to do anything. So they're not going to know how to problem solve. So that's what we want her to do right now, is problem solve, figure out what gets her the reward, and every trick that we teach her from here on out will just get easier and easier and easier. I had my last service dog, I could literally teach her something new in one day. One behavior, any behavior that I wanted, because she had learned to problem solve and she had learned to figure out what it was that I was wanting.
And specific breeds will be able to catch on quicker than others, obviously.
Yes,
right?
But I actually taught a Chinese pug as a 10-year-old to scent retrieve. So you can teach them. It just is going to take longer.
Old dogs new tricks.
Well, I was 10 years old. He was a puppy.
Okay. I thought you were saying he was 10 years old.
The very first dog that I trained and showed was him. Yes, I think my new dog has separation anxiety. She leaves, she barks, she throws a fit. Okay, so tell me what you do when you leave and she barks and throws a fit. What is your response to that?
And she's very high energy.
What kind of dog is she? I forgot. I know you told me, but I forgot.
What, you can't remember everything?
Not everything. I barely remember. I can barely remember who I am.
Some days we forget lives.
Yes, we do.
We have alarms.
We have alarms for things. A lot of times your hyperactivity and your separation anxiety, one of the very first things I will tell somebody to do is exercise your dog. Get your dog out and exercise them. A pug chihuahua, that's right. So the Chihuahuas have a tendency to have a little bit more anxiety. Pugs kind of do, but they really don't in general. They act like they do. My pug used to sit at the back door and shiver like he was freezing to death, and it was 103 outside. So they're very comical, that breed. So exercise, burning off that energy for the dog. And if you can't, I just leave and tell bye, and I leave. Okay, I would stop saying bye. I would stop saying anything, because that might be triggering the dog into, oh no, she's never going to come back. And so do short, where you get up and you walk to the door and then you turn around and come back, and don't make a big deal out of it. And then you'll want to go out of the room for a few seconds and then come back and then go out of the room. So if this is, oh, I'm not plugged in, we're going to run out of power. And you want to increase that time over a little bit of time. Anxiety is really difficult to stop. Exercise, they will build up a bunch of excess energy, and it comes out as anxiety. It comes out as all of those things. So if you just have to walk the dog around your living room, training will help because you can mentally wear them out before you can physically wear them out. So teaching your lie downs, teaching your sit, teaching your stand, teaching the dog to spin a circle. I had a dog that I rescued, a German Shepherd that I rescued, that had extreme high levels of anxiety. She had never been out of a kennel. She did not know how to go to the bathroom on grass. She was the most extreme case that I had. And she was like 4 years old when I got her. So, hi, Carrie, you made it. So, what I did with her is she would release anxiety by spinning. So I taught her to spin on command, and then dogs are left-handed or right-handed. You'll notice that your dog can do specific things. Chloe has a really hard time turning left up and going upstairs. She will pass the stairs, turn around, come up and do a right up the stairs into the RV. It's because she's right-handed. So teaching the dog the opposite way that they can go, that they normally want to go, they have to think harder on that. And it also affects their body. So as the dog is turning a different direction, they will hold that anxiety in different places on their body. So when you're getting them to do something that's very hard for them, you're releasing that tension in the body. So, even if you can't leave the room because you're hanging out with grandma and you don't want to just ditch her for 20 minutes at a time, so you're hanging out and you're in your living room, you can teach lie down, sit, stand, left or right turn, left turn, and get back. You can put up a cone and teach the dog to go around the cone. So you can teach your come by and your away. We do that with herding, so the dog already knows the command before we add sheep. There's a whole lot of things that you can do in a very small space that's going to stimulate the brain, and it is going to help with the anxiety. So, and also I do recommend dog massage. You give yourself, that you work out that tension in your dog's body. So just really short stints of leaving her. And then also when you go to leave her, if grandma could hand her a treat or a cookie or something like that, so she's like, oh, grandma's right here, I'm good to go, I'm fine, that will help too. Those are all.
That's a good idea.
So yeah, Chloe loves cat treats. It makes her really gassy, so I don't give her a lot. So you just have to figure out if it bothers your dog or not. The cat treats have a really high smell to them, so the dogs really like them. If I can't get the dog to take any other treats, then that's usually what I'll try to get. And I guess when I'm saying cat treats, just regular cat food. And that is actually the perfect size treat. So you can put a little bit of that in your pocket or in a little bowl, and maybe grandma can give her those so she gets something extra yummy for staying behind when she's not going with you. Anytime I leave and Chloe's not with me, she lays at the door and ignores everybody else's house.
Unless I have food.
Unless they have food. Then she's like, hey, new best friend.
And Chloe wasn't really my friend until Heather said, I'll let you feed her a few times.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay.
Yeah. And I think this is actually really important, especially those people that are doing training service dogs or something like that. Don't let other people feed your dog. Pick a couple of people because you don't want your dog taking food from anybody and everybody. All my shepherds were trained that they didn't take food unless it was from me or my son. And then I actually had a command word, a release word I would give them that would say they could take food. Because we actually had somebody put poison on our land and killed 2 of our border collies. And from that point on, I taught that you don't take food unless you're given the command to take the food. So I wouldn't just let anybody, unless you have a very fearful dog and you're trying to work through fear issues, then you want a lot of socialization and a lot of stuff like that. And if the dog will take food, then you want to let strangers give them treats so that they can get past that fear thing. So,
any other questions, guys?
I'll go as long as you ask the questions.
She's got great advice.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
How are you doing today? How is Tennessee? How is the weather there? We woke up to beautiful thunderstorms and rain, and we got to get in between the two thunder and lightning and rain and do Chloe's lesson.
It was beautiful this morning.
Yeah.
I loved the
weather. I love it, and the garden's very happy.
Yep. Any other questions, guys?
How do you get Scarlett to stop mouthing everything?
Ooh, good one.
So she's definitely past teething, so we're not concerned about that. That's okay. So 2 things. Sometimes they're chewing because of anxiety. I don't think that's Scarlett. I don't think that's her particular issue. I've been around Scarlett, so I really don't think it's that. But that's where, so when the dog puts its mouth on you, you want to give a little squeeze of the mouth. Akitas have a really high pain tolerance normally, so you're going to have to squeeze harder than I would have to on, let's just say, Justin. Justin has a very low pain tolerance, and so it's basically
just the littlest things.
Like the smallest things. He's like, oh, the world is ending.
Yes.
So you do need to know your dog. If you need to find out what your dog's pain tolerance is, gently hold their foot in your hand and apply pressure between the toes and that skin between the toes and count. So 1, 1,000, add more pressure. 2, 1,000, add more pressure. 3, 1,000, add more pressure. So if you're under 4 counts, your dog has a pretty low pain tolerance. If you're over that, they have a higher pain tolerance. And so what you'll need to do at that point is that'll tell you how much of a correction you need to give. So that's how much correction you'll need to give her on her mouth. You need to basically mimic what the mother does. When the mother is getting her puppies to no longer nurse, you'll watch her. She'll reach over and she'll put her mouth over their faces and she applies pressure, is what she does, until they let go. As soon as they let go, she lets go. So that's where I've seen people make mistakes in this, is they continue to give pressure as the dog, or they yell and they gripe and then rah, 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 rah. Don't do any of that. All you're doing is making your dog fearful of you. So when the dog puts its mouth on you, you give a little squeeze. As soon as they let go, you let go and you move on, or you can praise or any of those kinds of things.
Sil says, we sent our dog off for a week to learn XYZ. After a month, they gave our dog back and gave up.
Oh no, what kind of dog do you have?
Mary says, Heather, my biggest problem when I let them out, even if it's for an hour, so they come back in to pee. Any advice?
Yes. Don't let them out loose. Go outside, walk them in a circle in your yard until they pee, and then you reward, and then they get to come in. That's actually really common, more common than you would think. It's a Yorkie poo. Okay, that's actually really common in your small dogs. And also if you say you walk around your yard, you've got them on their leash, you're walking around the dog is not going. They're just not going. Well, what's happened is they've learned inside is where I pee. So anytime they've had an accident in the house, you need to clean that up with white vinegar. That changes the enzymes in the urine, and it no longer does that. Smells the way they want to. It'll actually cause them to avoid it. So I used to steam clean my carpets using vinegar instead of the soap, and that really cleaned your carpets. You smell vinegar until it dries. Once it dries, you don't smell it anymore. And so you may need to walk them inside, turn around and walk back outside to stimulate that, oh, I get to pee, and then take them outside. When you bring them in, don't let it loose in the house until it's gone to the bathroom outside. Then it will get to be loose in the house. So you're going to be doing some retraining here. It's going to take a little while, but if you're consistent, it will work.
Mary says, awesome. That's what my mama did to me. And Kelly said, with Cammie, we bit her ear.
That is an older training method. You really don't have to do that. You really can do it with your hand. I personally don't want to put my face down at the dog because you're kind of asking to get bit.
I've done that, and I got bit.
So back when I was 10 years old, that was how they were teaching, and nowadays they've learned that you can actually do it with your hand. You can use your fingernail if you have a dog with high pain tolerance. Again, Justin, I would not need to do that. It doesn't matter where you grab them on the mouth. You want to grab the offending part. So if your dog is putting his paw on you and being very persistent with that, you grab the paw. If the dog is putting their mouth on you and being very persistent with that, you grab the mouth.
Hi, Forrest.
So Kelly, it worked with her because she quit mouthing me when I was at your house because I was doing that. So
Forrest wants to know, can I teach my dog to give me a beer? Well, you are teaching the pickup.
You are teaching the pickup, and that is one of the first steps towards teaching them to get into the refrigerator. Key on this one, there's a few things that I have trained that I wish I never trained. One of them was I used to get into bed and forget to turn off my light. So I taught my German Shepherd to go turn off the light. Well, then he decided if it goes off, it can go on. And so at about 1:30 in the morning, he would flip it on and be like, I need to go outside and potty. So I would be woken up by the light. So you really want to think about the things you want to train. This is actually a service dog thing that we train. I'm sure you're teasing me, but this is actually a thing that we train for service dogs, for people who take medication and they need life-saving medication. And the dogs will be taught to go get a bottle of water, either out of a basket or out of a cool refrigerator. And there's like a towel, you tie a towel or a rope to your handle and they'll pull it open, get out a drink and push it closed. So that is actually, you can teach the dogs that. I did have a shepherd that I bred, raised, and trained that I trained to clean the house. So we would do the pickup. We started with the pickup command. This is literally what we started with. And I had baskets, dirty, like short plastic laundry baskets that were lined up on this wall. And he would pick up things and put them in that basket. I was training him for a lady who was legally blind. So she could not see things on the floor unless it was like,
it's not that she was being lazy.
It's not that I was being lazy. There's actually a reason. So the dogs was taught to pick up if it was on the floor, they picked it up and put it in a basket. And then she could either put the basket on her lap and look at each individual thing, or when her cleaning lady came in, she could put everything away really easily.
So Heather said, what if you have the doggy door open all day, but they both poop in the house? Do you do the same thing as if it was pee?
Yes. And close the doggy door, because they're not using it the way they're supposed to use it. You don't want to give them that freedom. So again, if you have them on leash right next to you all the time, they're not going to go to the bathroom in the house. And since you're having to retrain at this point, you need to teach them like they're 8-week-old puppies and don't give them that freedom. So here's the extreme. So I've had a dog that refused to go to the bathroom outside, like absolutely refused. It was Chinese crested. It's a little dog. And he was a show dog, so he was an older dog. I got him at 2. He was 2 years old, and he just would not go. So he was on leash, tethered to me at all times. If I saw him start to behave like he was going to go to the bathroom, I would scoop him up, run him outside, and then he would hold it. He refused to go. And I would walk him around this area, walk him. You got to keep him in movement because that stimulates them to have to go. He would not go. I would come inside. We'd be back to what we were doing. So what I ended up doing is I pushed the crate up to the doggy door so he could come in, and I sectioned it off so it was just his little bed. He could literally walk in, spin a circle, and lay down. That was it. He did not have access to the whole crate. And so we started doing it that way. And after a couple of days, poor little guy just like exploded everywhere. I don't know how long he did not go to the bathroom. It was forever. But I personally was getting very frustrated with him, and they pick up on that. So if you emotionally go into a space where you're getting angry at the dog, you need to put the dog away. Hi, Nancy. You need to put the dog up and give yourself the space. So that's what I was doing with that. The crate went there. So he was either tethered to me or he had access to that small amount of crate space and could go in and out. And then the big thing is make a big deal when they go where you want them to go. So when he finally went potty outside, I was like, oh my goodness, you're such a good boy. And I made a big deal about moving the crate, and I let him watch me do it, and he got free access to the house, and I went and got a cookie, a little cookie jar, and like made this big giant deal out of it. So it has to be very black and white. If they succeed, you need to be big with your reward. Petting, verbal, high-pitched talk, give food reward if it's a food motivated dog, get a toy if it's a toy motivated dog, pick up the leash and take him for a walk if that's what makes them super excited. You know, whatever it is that makes that dog like super, super happy, that's what you want to do. So, hey guys, who is this Forrest guy? I'm confused.
Another subscriber. Mary says, Heather, without training, if my alarm goes off at my insulin pump and it don't wake me, both dogs are on top of me waking me up with no training. Is that natural?
That's not natural for a lot of dogs. That's you've got a couple that are really good. I had a border collie that I was dating, a guy who had sleep apnea, did not know he had sleep apnea, and he would stop breathing and I would wake up and respond because out of a dead sleep I would wake up. Well, Juno, the border collie, started waking up before he would stop breathing. She would be on that bed and then you'd hear him go, you know, like that. And she was waking him up. She got to where she could tell the way he was breathing that it would stop. So, you know, you have some dogs that are super sensitive to things like that. And those dogs are service dogs. It's really cool.
You also hear about stories about dogs that can detect cancer in their owners.
Yep.
That they will like persistently, you know, knock somebody in the breast, and it turns out they have breast cancer. So
right. Chloe at 11 weeks old started responding to, because I have PTSD and she has made it into being a service dog. But at that was about 12. I had her a week, so she was about 12 weeks old, and I had a PTSD reaction, a trigger, and she was up in my face before I full on lost it. And she has been like that since then. Like,
and she doesn't just do it with Heather.
She'll do it with anybody that's around me that is getting in. Like Kim starts crying, Chloe's like, bam, up in your face. And Chloe is not, she's not a dog that does that on a regular.
I had her coming to me and doing that, and I was like, what is going on? And Heather's like, do you remember a half hour ago when you were having severe anxiety? And I was like, oh, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
She's, it's really neat when you see a dog that picks up on those things and that does those things. Chloe will wake me up out of nightmares. So she's really good at that. She's been doing that since she was really young. And just naturally started doing it. You know, those things are just really cool that when they pick that up and do that.
Any other question, guys? Free advice here.
But we will be doing this on every Wednesday. Normally our videos go, when you start crying, they don't like that. Chloe does not like it. Man, if I start crying, she gets so upset. It just this serious topic to me, and he's making weird comments. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see his comments.
I just ignored them.
Okay.
I think he was just being jokey.
Okay. So what I normally will be doing is videos will go out at the regular time at 9 a.m. and at 10 a.m. we'll do a live, and we can mostly I want to stay on the topic of what the video was actually about, maybe for the first 30 minutes of the video, and then so that people that watch this, the training video later, can come back and watch this live, and maybe we've answered some of their questions that they would have, and then afterwards we can ask and talk about any of the other extra things, and I will go as long on the live as you guys have questions. I guess we don't want to do a 4-hour live, but
not if you want other videos out for
that's
other things.
True. That's
we
true.
do have other things.
We do have to get to work. And I hope that it's really helpful. Dog training is something that, like I said, I started doing when I was 10 years old. I've worked with many rescue groups. I've trained many dogs. It was one of those things that I wasn't going to do professionally. It just kind of happened because people started asking you to train their dogs. I had another friend who was training dogs professionally, and I would work with dogs that she really didn't want to work with. And so it just kind of became a thing. So, and I enjoy it. And I love seeing dogs that are trained and that get to be parts of your family because they're good trained dogs.
I didn't do anything, Heather. It's all her.
Well, she videoed it.
I video and I just stand here
and
and
she does the questions.
prompt you guys to ask more questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So make sure that you share these with your friends. You know, this is a really good Facebook topic. A lot of people have dogs, even if they're not wanting to do watch the rest of our stuff and our shenanigans. I really think that this is something that could help a lot of people. So share these. You know, anybody that you know that's wanting to work with their dogs or whatever. And if there's something that you want me to train Chloe or Justin to do so that you guys can learn how to train it, I'll do that too.
And if you want a different dog, we might be able to borrow somebody like Scarlett and train her.
And my son has a golden retriever, so she'll be a golden retriever puppy that will be coming up and getting to do some videos.
We'll bring in some other dogs as well.
And like I said, I'm going to check with a local no-kill shelter and see if they would let me train some of their dogs, and we can work with some shelter dogs and maybe get them some homes. That'd be great.
And maybe find Kimmy a puppy.
Kim's not going to go.
She's doing your videotaping. Me, this girl.
So funny. All right. Well, I think unless you guys have any more questions, we could go for about 15 more minutes. But otherwise, we're gonna, I don't know, go
peace out.
Go build a homestead.
It's warm in here all of a sudden. Is it just me?
Thumbs up, guys. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Tell Grandma we said hi.
Yep. All right. We're taking off then. Go train your dogs. Bye.